Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
It's Tuesday. A terrific Tuesday in Savannah. Weather is nice, feels like fall. Yeah, got a waning gibbous moon on the set.
Oh, very nice. And just so you know, if you're looking for pumpkins, you can go out to Ottawa Farms the next couple Saturdays and they will have pumpkins for you. So that's something fun that you can do with the kiddos.
That's right. Yeah, so enjoy yourself. Meanwhile, they were enjoying themselves up in New York yesterday.
Oh, the judge.
Yeah.
He was something, wasn't he?
Yeah, this judge and you can tell that these people are so far to the left and out of it that they only enforce, of course, the rules and laws that they like. For example, I believe it's a state law in New York, Brittany, that you cannot have a camera in the courtroom.
Yes, I do believe you are correct.
Yeah.
And the judge only allowed it for just a moment, though. Just a moment.
Is that what it was?
Just for the photo op.
Enough to smile for the camera.
Well, and enough that they thought it was going to embarrass Donald Trump. And I think that they don't understand the way that this works. The more you put a spotlight on Donald Trump, and he's sitting in a courtroom, and he's the defendant, I think that you are going to. I think what he said was his poll numbers keep going up. I don't know how that happens.
You just keep wondering how can these people really be this stupid? And the answer is yes. They don't seem to realize that the more that they double down on Donald Trump, the more popular he gets. His poll numbers are going up again.
Yes, and they have not learned any lessons. And yesterday it was very interesting. The internet was going crazy with this judge who took the time to smile at the camera. I think he's really enjoying being the center of attention because there will be no jury trial in this case. There's rumors that there was a box that wasn't checked. There's also, a lot of people saying, it doesn't make sense for them to do a jury trial because they're going to file an appeal. So we'll see what happens. But let's take a look at that footage from yesterday.
Yeah, just
there's a camera in that courtroom. Was that supposed to be, or would they just be simply ushered out when we're gavelled to order?
Well, you're more likely to have cameras in state proceedings, and so it's up to the discretion of the judge. And quite frankly, I'm not too sure that both parties wouldn't want this. I think that Trump views this, the optics of this, as working to his advantage. Look, people looking at this live picture right now will be either filled with rage or they will be thrilled. And that's the problem. Is that, you have James now being shown in the background, you've got Trump in the foreground, and it fulfills the narrative on both sides. Trump is likely right. I mean, he's being shown in a sort of tag team series of prosecutions and civil lawsuits where one prosecutor tags another. They're all insisting on these trials occurring before the election.
I don't know if that's going to work out for them, having all these trials before the election, because, again, it doesn't look good when Trump is sitting in front of these people in court, and you know that they are trumped-up charges, if you will, and trying to liquidate someone's estate based off of false accusations of him saying that Mar-a-Lago is worth more than it actually is. I mean, it just seems a little crazy.
And the judge has decided, by the way, and all you have to do is get the real estate information. And he said that the Mar-a-Lago is like worth $18 million. Did he leave a couple of zeros off or something? Because
he must have.
Benedictine Military School here just redid their parking lot.
Okay.
They expanded it. It was paved. They put in a security gate, security fences up. That cost $21 million. Okay, $21 million, and it's nicely landscaped, and it's really first class. And they upgraded the football facilities and things, and some of the athletic facilities as well. And it looks beautiful. But $18 million is what that this judge says that Mar-a-Lago is valued at. And what did we say yesterday, by the way? That Brittany found out that there was a lot down the street, just a pile of dirt, or some just a big patch of grass down there for $200 million with nothing on it.
And not coast to coast beachfront.
Yeah,
Just
right.
saying.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago not only has beachfront, it's also on, I think, the intercoastal waterway. So you've got
Both
river,
sides.
you've got water on both sides. It's just unbelievable.
Well, and this is in Palm Beach proper. It's not
Yeah.
in West Palm Beach. It is Palm Beach proper, and it is end to end. So
Exactly.
there's not another property like it.
No,
So
it's one of the most beautiful places on the planet and most valuable real estate. And this guy says 18 million. We got a parking lot here that costs 21.
yes, and I didn't even take in account inflation because he bought it in 1985 and or maybe it was 1988. But anyways, he bought it in the 80s and it for 10 million. So by inflation standards, I believe it would be at least 28 million. It would be worth now by inflation. So interestingly enough, but the thing is Trump. He always does his press right after, right before. So he was actually, it seemed like a little pleasantly surprised by the judge. I think going in, he was very. He basically called for the judge to resign. He is a lifelong Democrat. He donates to Democrats, this judge does. And, you kind of wonder, especially in New York, if you're going to get a fair shake or not. But I think Trump was thinking maybe he did.
You get a fair shake if you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
I think that was very good. That last 5 minutes was outstanding because the judge essentially conceded that the statute of limitations that we won at the Court of Appeals is in effect. Therefore, about 80% of the case is over. I was going to come out and say that, as you know, we're not entitled to a jury, which is pretty unusual in the United States of America. So I think it's very unfair that I don't have a jury, but the judge's last statement was very fair. And if I read it right, I'll let perhaps one of the lawyers speak to it. But Cliff, maybe you'll speak to it if you would. But the way I interpret that and the way everyone else in the room seems to interpret that is that the statute of limitations is a very real thing in this country. And that would be about 80% of this case would be over. Could somebody speak to that, please? Cliff, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So based on the judge's comments, at the end of the trial today, it would appear that he is agreeing that all of the transactions that closed prior to 2014 are now out of the case.
Which is about 80% of the case. And it's also something that we won on appeal, but was not accepted by this court, but now seems to be accepted by this court.
So we'll see what happens. I believe 80% was dismissed of that case because they're outside the bounds of statute of limitations.
Yeah.
And good news for Trump, however, still a circus that he's involved in. There's no purpose in going through with this, but
That wasn't intentional, by the way, but whereas with Hunter Biden, statute of limitations running out was intentional. He goes to court today. Hunter's going to be there, and the judge there said, they wanted him to do like a Zoom call or something like that, and the judge said, no. That thing you keep telling us from the Democrat side, nobody's above the law. You're coming to court.
well, here's the thing about the Hunter Biden charges. They're ridiculous because the only charge that they had was the gun charge that they pursued him on. And I wonder why that was. I'm pretty sure that it's probably the only charge that doesn't link Joe Biden to all of the shenanigans.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason that charge is being brought. I think the Justice Department is playing favorites and definitely siding with Hunter Biden, and he's going to get a slap on the wrist. And it's shameful. Very shameful what they're allowing in this country, but
Yeah, this is. You're living in a police state, and New York leads the list when you're arresting people for nothing, because these were loans that were given by the banks. The banks do their own research. They don't just, just because it's Donald Trump, he didn't come and said, I need $77 million on a loan or something like that, or $100 million. They don't just say, oh, okay, Don, here it is.
No, don't they send out an appraiser and all sorts of stuff with the
and
bank?
it's the bank's appraiser.
Exactly.
It's not Donald Trump's appraiser. It's the bank's appraiser. Everybody got their money back with interest. There were no charges. There's never been any charges, and yet they all come up and said, well, he's been overvaluing his property. Well, the bank didn't think so.
Well, not only that, who has he hurt or harmed? Like, I don't, here's the other thing. Do you know how many people overvalue their properties?
Yeah.
I mean, how many houses were sold during the years of 2020 to 2023, even in this area, that were probably sold at a price that was unreasonable?
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, one of my best friends lives over in the Bluffton area, and his son's house. I think somebody offered him $1.2 million for it or something like that.
Okay.
They'd only been there like 8 months, and they a really nice house. But he was like, oh well, that sounds like a pretty good bit of money. And then he got to looking at the market and said, where am I going to find anything,
comparable?
for less than $2 million, if that's the case, that is comparable. Yeah. So, yeah, the markets has been overinflated, but the fact that the banks didn't have any problem with this, there was no case. They just fabricated this stuff. This is the definition of a police state, and the president is right that they are coming after him in a witch hunt, and that this is election interference, because I want all of this stuff to go down during the campaign. They want these court appearances and these trials to begin while he needs to be on the road campaigning.
The thing is he has been. He was in California, he was in Iowa, and he made it to New York. I mean, he's doing pretty good on the traveling.
I just cannot believe just how much laundry that they're taking out. I presume that the laundry that they're taking out here is to get rid of basketball.
Yeah.
What am I watching?
So
Okay.
Lizzie Warren says lawfare, and she's absolutely right. This is their plan, though. We say this all the time. The process is the pain.
Okay. So there we are. All right. Coming up next, later this morning, we're going to be talking to you about a big benefit that's coming up called Folds of Honor. And this is to honor military families and people who have lost loved ones, and this is how you can help. And it's going to be the Equinox Jazz Band that's going to be playing. It's going to be at the Wilmington Island Club. Well, not the Wilmington Island Club anymore. So Savannah Golf Country Club. Yeah. Country Club.
That's what happens when they change names.
Because
you
there's
can't get
also
on board
a Savannah
with it.
Golf Club, which is a different place. If you go there, you might not find what you're looking for. So we're going to be talking about that. Also coming up this weekend is the Buddy Walk from the Low Country Down Syndrome Society. We'll be giving you more information about that tomorrow as well. So a lot of things going on coming up this weekend here in Savannah for your entertainment.
Yes, and we're also talking to candidates. We know that is very important as we have elections on the horizon. Definitely, Savannah's a different market for candidates, that's for sure.
Isn't it, though?
So excited to talk to some of them and just some of the issues that they're seeing around the city and what they think they can do about it. So.
Yeah, a friend of mine that's Callum Crampton that you're going to be meeting here shortly. He's one of those that decide, okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring. We keep telling people, step up to the plate. You don't like the way it's going. Why don't you run for office? Well, Callum's decided he's going to do it.
So we'll be going there when we get back.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Coming up right here on Get Real America. So stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, if Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. Tuesday, here it is, the 3rd of October?
Yes.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Today is
Zipping right along.
Yes, and today is the State Board of Elections meeting up in Atlanta. So I heard that there will probably be a really big turnout for that. So excited to see what that looks like and kind of give you guys more information on that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And hopefully we'll be making progress on getting rid of some of this nonsense in our voting situation.
Well, we're having a hard time getting them to listen to any of the cases that were brought in 2020. So hopefully we'll see that happen, but you never know.
Yeah, boy, that's the truth. What really ticked me off was when I was doing my radio show. I was talking to people about Donald Trump was actually the president, and that Joe Biden was not elected, and the Biden people and the Democrats that I was talking to was saying that, oh, this was the most honest election ever. And because I got that answer from every one of them, they all sounded like they were reading from the Saul Alinsky book of Rules for Radicals and the Democratic Handbook, and it was just pathetic. Where they kept saying that this was the most honest and well-run election. I said, I don't ever remember elections being stopped. They stopped the vote counting at 9:30 at night with one candidate ahead by a couple of 100,000, and they restarted at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that candidate was behind by 150,000. That's never happened before. And they said, well, this has been adjudicated, and all said, no, it wasn't. The courts refused to hear any of this. That's how deep the deep state is. I think that was how naive Donald Trump was when he got in office, Brittany, that he didn't realize. We knew there was the deep state. I don't think, and even I didn't realize. And I keep up with this stuff.
Yep.
That didn't realize how deep the deep state really is.
Well, I think that's the other thing. You start to question everything now. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Why are they doing this? What is the reason behind it? Because logically, it doesn't make sense. So there's got to be something behind it. Usually it's a kickback or secret dealings behind closed doors. We're seeing that more frequently, especially with our Speaker McCarthy.
Yeah.
Doing backdoor deals with Democrats to ensure that Ukraine still got money. I think that is a big red flag for me. And I think that goes against working with Republicans. McCarthy is more worried about getting the votes for things instead of doing what's right by Republicans. He is a Republican, quote unquote, but apparently doesn't support Republican ideals and does not plan to work with Republicans. He'd rather work with Democrats.
And I am tired of this, the circular firing squad that they have now. But at the same time, do what you said you were going to do. That's what Matt Gaetz is doing, is telling McCarthy, we're holding your feet to the fire. You promised this, so do it.
And here,
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida now seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House.
The gentleman will state the form of his resolution.
Declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant. Resolved that the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives is hereby declared to be vacant.
Under Rule 9, a resolution offered from the floor by a member other than the majority leader or the minority leader as a question of the privileges of the House has immediate precedence only at a time designated by the chair within 2 legislative days after the resolution is properly noticed. Pending that designation, the form of the resolution noticed by the gentleman from Florida will appear in the record at this point. The chair will not at this point determine whether the resolution constitutes a question of privilege. That determination will be made at the time designated for consideration of the resolution.
well, there you have it. Matt Gaetz. So here's the thing. You saw this play out on Twitter last night. Kevin McCarthy says, bring it on, and Matt Gaetz responded, just did, right after this happened. The fight is going to get ugly. I think that people should just prepare for that. I do want to correct something that I said yesterday. Buddy Carter did not vote, so he was not there for the vote on Saturday. I wanted to make sure that I did not misspeak, but it did come out that he said he supported it. However, he did not vote on Saturday. Still no indication as to where he was or why he was not present, but he didn't vote for it or against it. So I guess there you have it.
Well, that sounds like the Dalai Lama, who kept voting present or whatever it was when he the 15 minutes he was in the Senate before he ran for president.
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren says, I'm ashamed of my state senator for allowing Georgia to participate in frivolous lawsuits. And Mary McCann Hybrider says McCarthy's got to go. I 100% agree. I think these are the necessary fights. They're not pretty, but at the end of the day, what's happening in this country is not pretty, and we need to start standing our ground. People need to start standing up, so I really respect the fact that Matt Gaetz is standing up, and he knows the consequences, which right now, Republicans are now trying to get him on some sort of ethics investigation, so we'll see if they end up throwing him out. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think that these people need to be held accountable. I think most of these people have been up there way too long, working with lobbyists and making deals with people, and it hasn't benefited the country.
No, it hasn't. But you keep hearing all the time about, that we need to get this done. Well, for those of you who are maybe over 40 or 45, you may have taken American history, and you may have noticed that this Constitution that we live under and the rules that we live under from the founding fathers was called the Great Compromise. I mean, they were having knockdown dragouts, in many cases physical, over trying to get this passed. Winning the war against winning the Revolutionary War was only the first step. Winning the peace was even tougher. Defeating the greatest army and navy in the history of the world at that time was one of God's miracles. But the fact that we had to win the peace because great allies from the Revolutionary War became bitter enemies afterward. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams weren't exactly, it was like Cain and Abel.
Well, that's the thing, though. There was a sense of respect for each other, even if you hated someone. They still were going to respect you as, either being someone that had some value. And I think that we've lost that in the country. And I would like to go back to duels. I think that was a great way to resolve things. But I digress.
I challenge you to a duel.
Hey, it worked out for them. Some of them.
Worked out well for Alexander Hamilton.
Some of them.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to remember that it only takes a small minority to make a difference and change the course of history. I think we've seen this time and time again. I believe only 3% of men actually fought in the Civil War. So very small numbers. I think we forget about those things because right now things are really challenging and we're tired. But I think that more people need to get involved in grassroots efforts. Local GOP, great place to go. And in some counties that might not be an option, but here in Chatham County, we have a grassroots GOP. We are trying to make a difference, and we're trying to elect Republicans. That is the main goal. I don't know what the heck the RNC is doing. I'm really disappointed in them, Bill. I'm seeing the Democrats. They have all of these people working to elect Republicans, so get out the vote efforts, but also candidate recruitment. The RNC is not doing that. We're so far behind. The Democrats have a whole team of attorneys. That's where this whole Mark Elias stuff comes from. Do we have a team of attorneys for the RNC? We sure don't.
Well, there was at least one young man that I know that I've worked with and known in the past. We were in Toastmasters together several years back. Callum Crampton finally decided, okay, I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. Had a chance to talk with Callum just recently about his campaign, running for Alderman District 4 in District 4 in the city of Savannah. So here's what he had to say. Welcome back to Get Real America. And the campaign season's about to get into full swing, as we've just had a special election. But now we're going down to the home stretch into the next election, and city election, county commission, that sort of thing is going to be up for grabs. And Callum Crampton, a friend of mine, is here with us, who has decided he throws his hat into the ring for Alderman District 4 of the city of Savannah. So, Callum, this is your first little soiree into politics. Why'd you get involved?
Yes, it is my first one, and thank you for having me. Very much appreciate the opportunity. I became aware of issues with Savannah. I've always been involved in Savannah, and it's just in my nature to kind of, if I see something that I think needs some attention, taxes are higher, property values are higher, and the city council voted for a higher millage rate of the choices that they had proposed. Amongst other things, crime and safety, quality of life issues.
What is it that he's doing specifically that you think needs to be corrected, as it were?
Well, one thing I noticed with the incumbent is that he does not seem to have any ideas. He talks a lot about bicycle paths and walkways. I don't see him talking about important issues such as homelessness, the affordability of Savannah, the taxation of Savannah. He doesn't talk about the state of the police department, a lot of favoritism towards certain communities. I don't see any kind of equality talk from him, how he can make things more equal for all residents of Savannah. Our city manager, Jay Melder, seems to be showing a lot of favoritism to his pet projects and certain people at the expense of other people in the city.
And have you gotten any? Let's talk about what you want to do.
Yes.
What would if you get elected? What happens?
Well, I have a lot of ideas. I'm a very creative person. I think that's come from the way I've had to live, because I haven't had steady income. I have had to come up with creative solutions. One issue that gets a lot of attention is the Savannah train. And I have a few ideas where you can work around that to help trains. And as I said, I think a strong point of mine is having critical thinking, which I don't think current leadership has. They have a simple thinking. They're a tax and spend politician that raise taxes and throw money at a problem, but not every problem can be fixed by additional spending. Sometimes the fix is a non-tangible. I have a first-hand experience with how these programs work and what really happens versus what politicians think will happen.
Well, good luck. Where can people find you?
I can be found on Facebook at callum.crampton, facebook.com/callum.crampton. I'm working on a website, www.cal4, the number, SAV, so CAL, number 4, SAV.com. That's in the works.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming in, and good luck on the campaign trail. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back. Stay real.
You have to appreciate people that are willing to run. It's a very difficult thing to do.
It is. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and a lot of us are, really reluctant to ask people for money. Although we've been asking you for some here for some time now.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where it is, money is a mother's milk of politics. You have to have it in order to run a decent campaign. But the people who step up and do it, way to go.
Yeah, and I just, really quick before we toss to break, I think that there needs to be a little clarity on the millage rate. I think that they need to talk about it a little bit more plainly.
Exactly.
They voted to keep the millage rate the same, but because property has increased so much, your property taxes are going to go up, not because they raised taxes, but because they kept it the same and property is worth more, so you pay more taxes.
Yeah, the millage rate, but they make a big deal out of saying, see, we didn't raise the millage rate. Yeah, but my taxes went up.
Yeah, so it's a game that they play as well. So just wanted to be very clear that your taxes did go up. They did have the opportunity to roll it back, and they chose not to. Know how your city council member voted, because they might need to go.
Coming up next,
Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
The president that was not Lincoln.
Was not Abraham Lincoln. Another one of those great Prager University videos that ought to be shown in every one of our schools these days.
When we get back.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke. When I grow up, I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills.
I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended by my coworkers and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this Tuesday morning, third day of October. Weather's nice.
Yes,
nice and cool
enjoy
outside.
it.
67
Enjoy
degrees where we are right now.
Yes, it's perfect out. This is the perfect time of year in Savannah,
Boy,
so
it is.
enjoy it. Steve Stanton Sr. says at least he seems to want it. Speaking of Callum, who is running in District 4 for City Council.
Yeah, for sure. So make your choices. Learn who these people are when they're having these town halls. Go to see them. Ask them questions. Why do you want to represent me?
Well, and I think also ask them questions about their voting record, because I think that some of these people don't ever get called to the carpet, and I think that they think they can just get away with it and continue to get your vote.
Brittany, one of the things that I enjoy, not only about being Papa Bill and working with my grandkids, but take them to Barnes & Noble where they go to pick out books. I've got my older grandson is a voracious reader. I mean, you will get him a book. He may have, I'll give him a book at the house. By the time he gets home, he may have read half of it. I mean, it is unbelievable. His teachers were having a hard time at one point where keeping up with him in class, because they would give out the syllabus for the semester, and he'd have half of it done he'd have it all done by the second week, and they'd have to find ways to keep him occupied. And one of the things that I like about going into the children's book section at Barnes & Noble, they have this series called Who Was or Who Is? Paul Revere, Edgar
I
Allan
love that.
Poe, all these different people. And I enjoy reading those because you learn very little about these people when you're in school. They kind of do a thumbnail sketch in these history courses. I mean, you can't go into all of it. You don't even get the tip of the iceberg practically. But these things will go into, I read the one on Paul Revere. Well, I didn't know, how he came up and how he started his silversmithing and working with pewter and all that stuff. And by the way, the only reason that he became famous more than anything else is because of the poem that Longfellow wrote about 70 years later, called The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Mm-hmm.
Three rode that night. But, the Midnight Ride of William Dawes doesn't
track well, yeah.
Doesn't track well. But The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, now, hey, there you go. That sounds something. So
They knew how to market things even back in those days.
And these books are terrific about these people's backgrounds and who they were. I read one the other day of Ferdinand Magellan. And there's great stuff that they don't have time to go into in most history classes. And we're not teaching as much American history as we're supposed to.
Well, I think the other thing, Bill, the thing that, so I wasn't exposed to a lot of private schools in Utah because our public school they've been okay. They've done the job. They haven't been nearly as bad as they are now, but growing up, we didn't have that many private schools. And in the South, notoriously, they have a lot of private schools. So I lived in Nashville for a few years, and of course now I live in Georgia, where private schools are quite prevalent. And so Veritas Academy is one that I've been exposed to and just some of the things that they're doing. And I love that they only go part of the day and then they have the rest of the day to maybe do more hands-on things or do things from home, reading books like that. I think that gives them a better experience in school than wasting 8 hours of their day, which I think you can learn way more if you're not in school.
Yeah, our grandkids are going there now.
Veritas? Okay.
And they're out after lunch. Because they said you eat lunch and the digestive process kind of makes you sleepy.
Yes.
Because the body's working on something else besides your brain, and so you're going to be sleeping through those 2 and 3 o'clock classes. So let's not have them.
Yep. Go home, go to a museum, do something.
And they're learning a heck of a lot more, by the way. Speaking of, who was and who is somebody, our 8-year-old grandson had to do a presentation on Christopher Columbus just recently. Had to get up in front of the class, had to present this oral presentation on Christopher Columbus. And Prager University does these great videos that I think should be required viewing. They required all of a sudden for Al Gore's, and the inconvenient lie that he came up with. Remember, this was back around 2000, 2002 or so when that came out, and he said within 5 years kids would know what snow is.
I wish that were true because I've been driving in it my entire life.
Well, yeah,
it still exists. Go to Utah in the winter.
Yeah,
January,
there
actually.
There are at least 17 or 18 things that were wrong in his book and then in the video. In fact, I think one judge, it was in England, they were trying to show it over there, and he said, before you show this, you're going to have to point out to the kids that there are 18 errors in this video. But they were making kids all over the country watch this video. Well, Prager University ought to be required viewing for these, and they're doing a great series on the presidents of the United States, including Andrew Johnson, the first president who was nearly impeached right after Lincoln's assassination when he took over. And as they said, he was no Lincoln.
It was April 1865. The Civil War was finally over. An exhausted, bloodied nation breathed a deep sigh of relief. And suddenly, shockingly, President Abraham Lincoln was dead, felled by an assassin's bullet while watching a play. To take the reins of power at this tumultuous moment required a great man, a man of compassion, discernment, and discipline. Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's vice president, was not that man. This is not to say he didn't have virtues. He did. He just didn't have the stuff it took to meet the moment. Born into abject poverty on December 29, 1808, Johnson was apprenticed, sold would be more accurate, to be a tailor at the age of 10. Legally bound to serve until he was 21, he ran away after 5 years. He eventually settled in Greenville, in Tennessee, where he set up his own tailor shop and prospered. In 1834, he was elected mayor of Greenville. From there, he climbed steadily up the political ladder. The state legislature in 1835, the U.S. Congress in 1843, governor in 1853, and the Senate in 1857. He was still serving as U.S. Senator from Tennessee in 1861 when the Civil War broke out. Although Johnson was a Democrat and a slave owner himself, when Tennessee left the Union to join the breakaway Confederacy and defend legalized slavery, Johnson denounced his state secession on the floor of the Senate. "I will not give up this government," he thundered in December 1860. "No, I intend to stand by it, and I entreat every man throughout the nation who is a patriot to come forward, that the Constitution shall be saved and the Union preserved." After Union military forces occupied large parts of Tennessee in 1862, Lincoln tagged Johnson as the state's provisional military governor. It was a shrewd move on the president's part. It demonstrated to Southerners and Democrats that they were welcomed as full partners with Lincoln's Republican Party in restoring the Union. Johnson himself joined hands with Lincoln's policies by freeing his own slaves in 1863. A Southern Democrat who could embrace the ending of slavery was exactly what Republicans hoped would draw Democratic voters to support Lincoln's re-election bid in 1864. The Republican nominating convention duly replaced Lincoln's original vice president, Hannibal Hamlin of Maine, with Johnson as Lincoln's running mate. Johnson's career as vice president did not get off to a good start, to put it mildly. He showed up drunk at his and Lincoln's inauguration on March 4, 1865. Johnson had an excuse. He was seriously ill with what was probably typhoid fever. Unfortunately, he chose to medicate himself with whiskey. No one dreamt that only 6 weeks later, the Confederacy would collapse, Lincoln would be dead from an assassin's bullet, and Johnson would become the 17th president. At first, Johnson delighted the most radical members of Congress with promises that treason must be made odious. And when Johnson's Attorney General moved to indict several dozen of the high Confederate leadership for treason, it appeared as though Johnson would take a hard hand in reconstructing the Union. It quickly became evident, though, that Johnson saw the South's plantation-owning and slave-owning elite as the sole cause of the Civil War. Poor Southern whites were merely the victims of a dangerous aristocracy of plantation gentry, and he began handing out wholesale pardons to all but the most prominent Confederates. His plan for Reconstruction required the Southern states to eliminate slavery, but Johnson saw no reason to extend voting rights, or many other rights for that matter, to the freed slaves. When a baffled Congress tried to seize control by adopting civil rights and Reconstruction legislation of its own, Johnson vetoed their efforts. Ultimately, the Republican majority overrode those vetoes and imposed a Reconstruction plan more favorable to the freed slaves. This only exacerbated the tension between Johnson and the legislative branch, and finally, in 1868, on the paper-thin pretext that he had illegally terminated one of his cabinet officers, Johnson was impeached by the House of Representatives. He missed conviction and removal by only one vote in the Senate. By that point, however, his presidency was effectively finished. After the election of Ulysses Grant, Johnson returned to Tennessee, where he still enjoyed some popularity. In January 1875, he staged a political comeback by winning election once more to the U.S. Senate. But in July, he suffered a fatal stroke. He was buried in Greenville, wrapped by his own request in an American flag. I'm Alan Gelzo, distinguished research scholar and director of the Initiative on Politics and Statesmanship in the James Madison program at Princeton University, for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Wow, good stuff.
Yes, I love PragerU, and so does Mary McCann Hyber. She says PragerU is awesome.
Yep.
Lizzie Warren says, be careful in Barnes & Noble's children's book section.
Oh,
Yeah, we all know we have to be careful everywhere nowadays.
We watch it, yes.
Yes, a good part of Students' Day is spent lining up for other classes or activities, says Lizzie Warren. And Steve Statton Sr. is giving us a traffic report. Traffic is screwed up on 17 from Quaco on north. Yes, and I will tell you that 16, they've been closing it down at night, and you have to reroute off of I-16, off the interstate, and they reroute you back onto it. So fun eventful things on I-16, I know.
Yeah, it's like Will Rogers used to say about New York, be a nice place if they ever got it finished.
Yeah, it's I-16 is very challenging right now. But
yeah, for real.
Yeah, but we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we are going to be talking to someone from Fold of Honor.
Yeah, wait till you hear this. This is really terrific. Great something for you to do this weekend that you will enjoy, and it will be something that's heartwarming to you as well.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards. Brittany's here too.
Yes, I am here. Good morning.
Glad to have you aboard.
Yes, and you know, it's been quite the campaign season. I think that everyone's ready for, at least, here's the thing, Savannah gets all the attention, but we actually have more municipality races going on, including in Pooler. Not hearing a whole lot about that race there, but Savannah is getting all the attention, and they did have a debate last night. WSAV is the one that covered the debate and live streamed the event, and we have a little bit of a clip from that last night.
The back and forth. All right, we'll get to that here in just a second. But speaking of education, apparently the Board of Education over in Beaufort County in South Carolina is meeting on the Educational Services Center to decide whether to return several books to the Beaufort County Library. And the public session will begin at 6 o'clock. It says it's a hybrid session that will be live streamed on the county channel. Now, the agenda includes 6 books. These are the 6 books I have never heard of.
Okay, Lizzie Warren, pay attention. She investigates these books, so let's see if she knows any of them.
Okay, Damsel by Elna Arnold. Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Moss. Identical by Ellen Hopkins. Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertelli, I guess. Oryx and Crake, whatever the hell that is, by Margaret Atwood, and Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. All I can say is what's the common denominator here? They're all female authors.
Yeah, I think that Ramona Blue is quite horrific, if I remember correctly.
I thought, is it anything like All Boys Aren't Blue?
Yeah.
Which is a pile of filth.
Yeah, I think that those are some of the books that they've been working on here in Chatham County. I don't see Lizzie commenting yet, but she's really familiar with these books. I'm sure that they need to be taken out.
These are going to be returned. It said the School Library Materials Review Committee, I love committees, decided that all but one of these books should be returned to high school libraries. However, district leaders are going to decide tonight if the decision is going to stand. So this is part of an initiative to let parents have more control over what their students read, allowing them to ban their child from checking out certain library books, which is not going to help one iota.
No, I think if you're sexualizing children with books, they need to go. Mm-hmm. There's no need for it.
Check them out. They could sit there in the library and read it. Exactly.
These people. Why would you fight to have this kind of stuff in Lizzie Warren says All Boys Aren't Blue is pure pornography.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And what we actually can't say what it really is.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely should be looking at these books. I think that it's important that we protect our kids from pornography. There are studies that show that kids that look at pornography and stuff, it changes their brain chemistry and their ability to function in society normally. So I think it's really important that we look at these books and we get them out of the schools.
Yep.
Okay, so I now think we have the clip of the debate.
Yeah.
Concerns.
This was the first debate between the three candidates to be live streamed. The auditorium was filled with listening ears. Georgia Southern University professors from 3 different colleges curated a collection of questions addressing over a dozen issues and concerns in the city of Savannah. Each candidate had 30 seconds for opening statements. Incumbent Van Johnson would be entering his second term if elected. He was joined by Alderwoman Keisha Gibson Carter and political newcomer T.L. Davis. Take a listen.
I am tried, proven, 20 years in public service, 16 years in local elected office, 4 years as mayor of this city to protect the city, keep this city safe through the most challenging of circumstances this city has ever faced.
I am a born natural liaison and advocate for people in general. And the reason why I would love to become mayor is because it's time that we get the needs and concerns met of our people here in Savannah.
You're a passionate advocate, humble servant, and bold leader. I am Savannah, bred and fed. I'm a graduate of Savannah High School, Fort Valley State University, as well as Savannah State University.
They then answered questions with topics ranging from the millage rate, alcohol licenses, and the homeless population. When asked about the lack of civility between members of the council, Mayor Johnson and Alderwoman Gibson Carter had this to say.
As an individual person, I can only be accountable for the behavior by which you've seen me exhibit. And so even in spite of times where I felt like I might have acted differently, you have never seen me act anything but mayoral. Anything act a Christian as I am, to treat people the way that I expect people to be treated, because not only am I representing the city, young people are watching me.
For you to hide behind the fact that you don't have anything to do with it is as far from the truth. So what we want the city of Savannah to know is that as mayor, the very first thing I will do is I will change the legislative process whereby it takes 5 members of council to present, introduce, or enact any legislation for consideration or conversation. Nowhere in America does that happen. And we as Americans have been fighting for democracy and our right in this city.
You can watch the full mayoral forum on WSAV.com. There you can also find the candidate forum for Districts 5 and 6. Sarah Smith, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Yeah, I'm glad they're on our side. But you would think that professionals would know how to do audio a little better.
That was horrible. That's the first thing I said when I saw this clip. I was like, really? This is the audio that we're getting?
That's
cool.
pathetic.
Okay. But anywho, I do think that Keisha Gibson Carter did bring up a very good point of how hard it is to get something on the agenda, because you have to have 5 of them to vote it on, which seems a little abnormal, but they changed the process. And I do think it's important for people to know kind of what has happened on the city council and why it's been so hard to get things done. And, you know, the city of Savannah is known for being difficult to work with, so.
Yeah, they have indeed.
Yes.
All right, coming up this weekend, we got a couple of events to tell you about. Today, we're telling you about Folds of Honor. If you don't know what that is, it's a great organization that helps out the families of fallen military personnel. And it is there's a great local chapter. They have a big wing ding going on this Saturday, and here's more about it. Welcome back to Get Real America, and it is a pleasure to have Caroline Gregory in here as we talk about Folds of Honor. And Caroline is one of these people in charge of putting together the Salute to Heroes Gala that's coming up. And first of all, Caroline, welcome.
Thank you.
And tell us what Folds of Honor is. A lot of people might not be familiar with it. They might see somebody with a lapel pin that's got the little triangular star field on it.
Yeah, so Folds of Honor is a nonprofit organization that gives scholarships to families of fallen and disabled soldiers as well as first responders. So this is our 9th year in the Savannah area.
This sounds like it has similar characteristics of other organizations that we hear about that helps families of soldiers and things of that nature. What makes Folds of Honor different?
You know, Folds of Honor was started by a guy that was in a plane, saw the need for this, and saw the need for other families that needed their children to actually go to school,
Mhm.
right? I think when they are lost, it's hard for the spouses of the fallen that probably aren't working to get their children through school. And so this is an organization that really strives to keep the honor of the fallen soldier alive.
And the term folds of honor refers to how you fold the flag. It's a very precise method
Correct.
to
Yep,
folding
it's-
the flag.
yep, it's-
And there are 13 folds, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You got it.
So
And then there are
13 stripes on the
stars,
flag.
right, yep.
There we go, 13 stars, and the 13 folds, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really unique organization. It's something we're very proud to be a part of. It's grown in our community. The support from the community has been very significant. It's grown year after year, and each year we're having more and more volunteers get involved, more and more sponsors get involved, and we've really we're almost maxed out.
Yeah. Well, you sometimes hope that you get a better PR man for some of these things sometimes, because it is such a great organization. I've been to several of the galas, and a good friend of mine, a retired Brigadier General Steve Westgate from
Yep.
the Army National Guard, or Air Force, I should say, Georgia Air National Guard, is a big supporter and member of the
Correct.
organization.
Yep.
Yeah.
He does a great job for us.
Well, and the gala is when?
The gala is this Saturday. It's October 7th. It's
Okay.
at 6 p.m. We've always done it the night before the golf tournament, and this year we've moved it to Saturday. So it starts at 6. We have the fabulous Equinox Orchestra that will be playing music. We have a great silent auction, a live auction, and of course Fund the Mission. So we are very excited to get this on board.
And it's going to be where?
It's at the Savannah Country Club.
Okay.
Yep, 6 o'clock is kickoff, and then it'll probably last until about 9:30 or 10.
This is the one on Wilmington Island.
Correct. Yep, it's
Yes.
the old Wilmington Island Club.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. And how do people get tickets?
So you can go to our website, foldsofhonor.sav.org, and purchase tickets there. You can also purchase them the night of if you do show up to the Savannah Country Club. We're trying to encourage you to get tickets beforehand.
And what kind of price range are we talking
The
about?
tickets are $100, and it has music, entertainment. The auction will have dinner service and beer and wine.
Sounds like a
Yes,
good deal.
absolutely.
How did you get involved?
So I got involved about 6 years ago. It's a funny story. Dave and I were both fundraising he was fundraising, I think, for Folds of Honor. I was fundraising for another organization, and we kind of got into a competition of who's going to raise more money. And I guess I really impressed him, because the very next year he asked me to get involved with Folds of Honor. So here we are. It's like I said, I was involved in the golf tournament side for a while, and now we've maxed out the golfers, and we're really pushing the Salute to Heroes Gala.
What's your military background?
I don't have any.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Not married to a
Nope,
soldier?
not
Nothing,
at all.
Nothing
Nope.
like that?
I had a very good friend who his professor in college was one of the recipients from one of these scholarships, and it kind of came full circle a few years ago. So no military background, no connection. It's a great organization. I completely understand the mission, and I've seen what it's been able to do to others, and so yeah, I'm here to support.
Well, one of the things that we talk about with charities is how much money stays here locally. And so how does this one work?
So with Folds of Honor, everything goes to the national campaign. We do have a speaker this year, Wesley Bogus, whose daughter is a SCAD student and did get the scholarship directly from Folds of Honor for that. So it is a national organization, so everything is run through there. And then all of the money, the proceeds that we get go directly to Folds of Honor as well.
Most organizations, you sometimes like to say, all right, I will donate or I'll participate in this because I not only believe in the cause, but because they are so frugal with their money. The money goes where we want it to go.
Right,
There's
correct.
very little overhead.
Yep, correct. I believe 80% or 75 or 80% of the money that Folds of Honor raise goes directly to the scholarship recipients.
Okay. Where is headquarters, by the way?
I think it is in Oklahoma, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
That beats Washington, I mean.
Yeah, no, it's definitely,
Seems like everything goes to
it's
Washington.
towards the West Coast.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Well, this is a fantastic organization, so people can go, once again, tell them where to go.
Folds of Honor, sav.org to purchase tickets. You can go to our Facebook website. We have all of the auction items listed on there. And tickets are $100, and we're closing off ticket sales, I believe, Friday morning. But if you do want to still purchase tickets, you can show up the night of.
Very good. All right. Well, Caroline, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Thank you for everything. Give Dave Simons our best, and we'll see you Saturday night.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Great.
Thank
you for coming in.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back.
What a great organization, and I hope everyone will go get tickets to that gala this weekend. Starts at 6 on Saturday at the Savannah Golf Club.
Yeah, and another Savannah Golf Club, Savannah Country Club.
Sorry,
The one on
Savannah
Wilmington
Country
Island.
Club.
There are two of them. But when you call yourself the Fabulous whatever, you better be fabulous. And the Fabulous Equinox Jazz Band lives up to its reputation, believe me. They go all over the world. In fact, they're getting ready for a big trip to India. I'd like to tell you more about when we have some time. But that's going to wrap it up for us today.
Yes, remember to become a member, donate.
Mm-hmm.
You can also become a sponsor, and you can advertise with us if you have a business. So don't forget about all those options. We would love to bring you on board the Local Spin and Get Real America family.
If you want to keep it sub rosa, we'll do that too. So, we won't tell people who you are so you don't get harassed by Democrat friends.
Yes, so thanks so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. We'll be talking with Mike McCann, who is a District 6 City Councilman candidate, and I'm excited about him. So
And
we'll
also
talk to him
Joe
tomorrow.
Marchese from the Low Country Down Syndrome Society. The Buddy Walk's coming up on Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow.